Hello and good evening to the entire Bad Chat K-12 community. Sorry for the little delay in starting this live broadcast this afternoon. We had a little technical glitch there. We weren't getting the button to start the broadcast. Had to create a whole new event, but hopefully you'll be able to find us and join us. For those of you who watch this not live, you'll be able to watch it from the beginning. I'm Noah Geisel, host and co-founder of Bad Chat K-12. And we're joined this week by Mark Lesser of Mouse in New York. And Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I know
this is it's terrific. I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller.
Well, it's really exciting to have you with us, man. And I guess to get us started, just for those who have not had the privilege of hearing it all about Mouse, just what is Mouse?
Mouse is we are a STEM support organization for the field of education. We were founded almost 20 years ago. We're about to celebrate a birthday. And we are at our roots absolutely a youth development program and thinking about how we change what opportunity looks like in science, technology, engineering, and math. Particularly, we're focused on actually technology, engineering, and design. And we work with middle and high schools nationally. We're founded in New York, but that means we support a youth network of, given the grant year, anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 young people and educators across the country who are creating amazing things with technology and thinking about how that applies to their local and the global community. So technology with purpose is Mouse's tagline, and it's really, we hesitate to start with STEM organization because I don't think the jargon does justice to what it is we're after. But I'm really excited to be here and excited to talk about the work. The more we get to do this kind of stuff, the more people know specifically what we're after in this space. So thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. And I think that's so awesome that folks realize that starting up with digital badges doesn't have to be something entirely new, that your organization is by no means a pilot organization. And you guys are well-founded and serving thousands of students and teachers a year, and the badges are sort of a newer integration.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, badges for us we have been iterating on badge design since we released and started issuing our first badges in 2010. So we've been doing this quite a while. We were then in 2012, we were DML Challenge winners in the Badges for Lifelong Learning competition, and we were a founding member of things like the Badge Alliance, and we're I think I became involved with this community within the first couple of meetings of the country and even beyond, really starting to talk about what open badge standards look like. And so I'm a longtime part of this community and champion of this work in all kinds of different contexts. The project we're going to talk about tonight is afternoon for you is one sort of niche where we've been working and trying to make a little bit of headway for the community, and as luck would have it, and good timing for our chat tonight, we have good news to share and really great progress that's happening this year. So,
well, I'm definitely excited to hear about that. And for anybody who's watching who heard Mark mention DML competition, I highly recommend you do a quick Google search for that. I'm sure it'll be your top hit, but there's just a lot of amazing stuff coming out of the DML competition. I think they just had their annual conference a couple weeks ago. So there's some really exciting new stuff that you'll be able to learn about if you search for that. So what badges are available for students who are just empowering themselves through STEM with Mouse in New York?
Yeah, so we in the fall this year, in September, with the start of the new school year, we launched a brand new platform called Create, and create.mouse.org, which is much easier to check out through YouTube, where we have lots of good demos. You need a login to get on, but Create is our learning platform that every site is sort of coming together to participate there. And across the site, we have over 100 projects that are curated to hit areas of technology, engineering, and design that are not only designed to sort of engage in really small doses, so in some cases a 20-minute project or a 50-minute sort of project that can happen in a period or over a lunchtime, to semester-long courses and sort of stacks of courses that you can put together over the course of a year. So within those 100 projects that are happening on Create, we have about 30 competency areas currently that we're awarding competency area badges for. And they range from everything from soft skills to really specific technical skills that go everywhere from the ideas of things like reverse engineering, which is sort of a universal concept, obviously, that is not only applied to the technical space, but is really about systems thinking more broadly, to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we get really granular, and what we're trying to do with the new platform is really empower educators to put together playlists of STEM projects that can help them create, really complement whatever environment they're in. So for a Spanish teacher, for example, who wants to integrate STEM in really interesting and unique ways to think about.
I do.
To think about the subjects that they're teaching, we want to be able to create an environment where we have stuff that's easily sort of hackable and remixable, and enable educators to put it together into playlists that let them complement what it is they're doing in their school. We don't want to replace what good things are happening in classrooms. We want to complement them and make sure, especially for the ones who need us the most, so the really under-resourced schools that we work with, we want to make sure that they have the sort of leading edge in STEM content and aren't sort of going it alone. So we're sort of the community that folks can plug in to make it come to life.
That is so cool. And for anybody who didn't catch it, that was create.mouse.org to check out the platform. And we'll make sure to tweet out on the Badge Chat K-12 hashtag links to some of those YouTube playlists so you can kind of see some of those demos Mark was describing. Again, that was create.mouse.org. And Mark, I'm really excited to hear a little bit about this relationship you have with Parsons School of Design, this prestigious university. And my understanding is that you all have somehow got on the radar of their admissions department where they are actually looking for mouse micro-credentials from students who are applying to their amazing institution. So please enlighten us. Really excited to hear about it.
Yeah, that's right. We're extremely excited about it, and this is the second full year of this partnership, and it gets better with each iteration. We're really excited about not only what the opportunity that it presents to Mouse and the young people that we work with, but also for the field. We've been part of the reason we really got into this space and started thinking about how to create an exemplar for things like endorsement is because as part of this community for a number of years, we had spent so much time talking about how beneficial endorsement could be, but very few partners had the sort of space and resources to step up and make a real example of it and figure out what that meant in a real way. And I know you guys in Aurora are in a different context, and I think with slightly different goals, but in a really powerful way, are one of only a handful of examples that are out there. When people ask me or you at a conference, where do I look for this stuff? We need to keep populating the field with great examples, and really kind of creating open source blueprints for how others can do it. That's really part of our goal in doing this, is not only to figure out what it means to and why it's important to go after endorsement, but then also to open up a blueprint to help there are hundreds of STEM organizations in this country that are doing amazing things, and Mouse wants to help lift all of them up and figure out, we can't do it alone, certainly close the opportunity divide in STEM. And so part of this is about what can we do to move the field along to get there. So I do have some slides to show, if that's helpful, and I can kind of walk us through a little bit of what's going on with the program that is being endorsed by Parsons, the New School for Design, which is consistently on the sort of most impressive lists of international design schools, and we're really proud and happy to be a partner of theirs for as long as we have. So I can tell you a little bit about Design League and kind of how we got there, and then I have a slide with some links to some of the things that I've written about the project recently, just so that anybody who needs to, wants to go off and do some more research can do that as well.
Totally, yeah. And just in case anybody didn't, definitely want to focus on what Mark pointed out there about open source. And everybody in this community who I know is sharing, and just to the extent that we're all able, just putting it out there for the world. Badge.aurorak12.org is the Aurora program Mark just mentioned. I just put it on the bottom of my tagline there. If you want to check that out, everything's Creative Commons, beg, borrow, and steal away. Let us know how we can be a resource. And Mark, please do go ahead and screen share some stuff. Just so you know, on time, we're down to our last about 7-8 minutes here. And so while you're firing up your screen share, if you wouldn't mind also kind of touching on just how the relationship with this prestigious higher educational institution was initiated. What can we learn from that for anyone else who's really wanting to go there? What lessons do you have?
Well, so I think that it's our responsibility coming from the K-12 side to figure out what it means to higher education to participate. There's a lot that's happening in badging and alternative credentials in higher ed currently. Most of it is within higher ed, so within a university or university to university. And what needs to start to happen from our perspective is we need to start thinking about sort of cross-institutional pathways that happen from one point in a learner's trajectory to the next. And that's really what we're after. But it's our responsibility, if we're sort of going after endorsers from K-12, we need to figure out why it's important to them. And we need to figure out how to kind of sell it to them in such a way that we make it practical. So that relationship started between myself and one of the deans at Parsons. The Ann Gaines is her name, and she's the Dean of Art, Media, and Design and Technology at the Parsons School. And we talked a lot about, she's on Mouse's education advisory, and we talk a lot about the issues of, especially in the space of design and technology, which is a field in and of itself right now in the academic world, that is just where diversity is a major issue, and too many of the students that come through our programs have no idea that it exists. And what we talked a lot about from the start was how much of a disgrace it is on both sides that more young people aren't aware of that as a pathway. And particularly for us, what's important is that more young people who are within a mile of the university have no idea that it's there and it's a resource. So what we were looking to do is really address young people in our program who come to us their sophomore or junior year of high school, who have amazing skill and talent, who are creative young technologists. Excuse the sound of my kids in the background. Who not only don't know about design and engineering as fields that they should be pursuing, but really don't know the nuts and bolts of what it means to apply to those programs. So the first thing we wanted to do is through endorsed badges is to help them see that as something of a carrot to learn what it is to put together a portfolio, and then to apply the portfolio and the credential to the admissions process is a huge step for our young people. So,
clarifying question: are the badges actually then, when you say the endorsed badges, are they endorsed by Parsons, and so then they're looking for their own endorsed badges in the admissions process?
That's exactly right. So, are you seeing my screen right now?
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Awesome. So these are just some of the Design League badges. So this is a year-long, we do 120 hours after school. Young people are learning human-centered design. And we have about a dozen badges across the program that are all I feel like I always need to say, this is evidence-based work. This is about young people with credentials on top of meaningful portfolios that tie to evidence of their competency. So these are some of the areas. The program is built around the human-centered design process. We issue badges on all three phases of the design process, from research to prototyping. So badges like empathy are very specific. These are very specific competencies to the design world, but obviously are going to be, especially in this case, a mix of soft skills and hard skills.
Totally. When we look at jobs that are not being outsourced and automated, for which we're preparing our students, to be successful in their futures, these are really essential skills. One quick question that we just had on Twitter from Sigbert with EDU3161. Big shout out to you all. It looks like a class of y'all are joining us. We'd love to have you, and let us know if you ever want to host your own Badge Check K-12. She asks, is it open to students in higher ed? And I guess a companion question to that would be, if I'm a teacher, a Spanish teacher in Colorado, is Create open to me?
So it's not designed for students in higher ed. However, we have thought about it, and who knows what's on the horizon. What I would say, however, is if you aren't aware of Design for America, we do a lot of work. Design for America is a chapter organization that specifically works in higher ed, and they're out of University of Chicago and really do some pretty outstanding work. I'm sorry, I said University of Chicago, but it's actually Northwestern is where they were founded. I think they're now an independent nonprofit, but they do incredible work. And for those who are in higher ed looking for programs like ours, I recommend dfa.org.
I think it might be designforamerica.com for anybody watching live.
Oh, great. Thank you. So very quickly, some of the things that led us to here, some of our challenges, little nonprofits like ours, we're still having a hard time finding and supporting third-party solutions for badge issuing. So these are some of the areas that I'd be happy to talk to anybody who's interested more about, because we've done a lot of, we've had some successes, but a lot of failures as well. And one of the things I think that's most powerful about this community is that people are pretty good about scheduling a call, and if you have questions about these areas, getting in touch. So what third-party solutions are out there? How do we work with teens and students even as low as 5th and 6th grade to think about the importance of documenting work? Obviously, math teachers have been trying that one for quite a long time. The sort of movement to show your work is not a new one, but I do think that technology empowers it in new ways, which is exciting. Balancing the sort of pioneering spirit for if you're a classroom teacher or an organization who really wants to get into badging, you always want to balance the spirit of pioneering with staying practical and making sure that you're not biting off more than you can chew, because the last thing that schools need is more sort of innovation that has a false start. And then things like finding the right partners. So one of the things that made it really easy between Parsons and us is we went through a fairly deep process to make sure that the two programs really did complement one another. And this slide basically shows one step in that process was our working with the Committee for Undergraduate Education, which puts together first-year curriculum at Parsons. And making sure that their outcomes align closely to the credentials that they're endorsing. And you can see from some of what's here, it was almost an exact, it was really just there was so much kind of magic in how those things fit together that we built a lot of support from every level. So it was faculty, it was the dean, and then bringing in admissions to think about what are the benefits on the admission side. And I'll share a link to a post that I recently wrote that shares what some of those were as well. But that led us to a stamp that shows work endorsed on, I'm going to skip past, even though these are great and I'd be happy to share. Some of these slides are actually open and were created by the executive, actually no longer the executive director, former executive director, I guess, of the Badge Alliance, Nate Otto. And you should check these out. But this is just more about what endorsement is. We are endorsing specifically at badge class and endorsing the issuer. So they're not looking at every piece of work that comes through the organization. What we're doing is they are sort of spot checking the program and spot checking the work, but are essentially endorsing Mouse as someone who carries forward the values and pedagogy that's relevant to them. So this is what badge detail will look like very soon on Credly. We are now a formal partner of Credly. We used to build our own badge issuing platform. We only recently contracted with a third party because we feel like it's extremely important that we're supporting third-party software developers who are really specializing in just this, and Credly is doing a great job. So, and then one of the things we had to figure out along the way is where does that endorsement stamp lead you to? Which had us then build out a page to essentially describe endorsement in detail and make sure that people are understanding what endorsement means, because in a way that's the whole purpose of this project, is really helping the community figure out what it means and figure out how it's going to be most important. And it really isn't until we've done it for a few years and we're figuring out what's working and what's not that we kind of can get there to figure out how we need to adjust and reiterate in ways that are going to be even more effective. These are links to a few posts that I've written recently. If any of them are sort of help your cause or help you find more information about the things that you want to do with alternative credentials, I would be happy to talk more about any of those. But no, I'm guessing you can throw some of those links into the comments as well. I'm going to go back to...
and if you want to share your presentation on the Badge Chat K-12 hashtag as well, folks will have access to all those slides. And sure. Sorry for folks who are on tight schedule. I know we're 5 minutes over, but how can you interrupt the man when he's sharing such awesome stuff? I know a lot to unpack there for future conversations. I definitely want to highlight something that Mark said about, highlighting failures, that, if we're not public with our failures and sharing with one another, then it makes it a lot easier when we share for other people to start closer to where we are than where we were. And I would echo what Mark said, that folks are being really generous with sharing their failures and just being humble and saying, hey, here's where I messed up. And I think we could probably schedule a whole other Badge Chat K-12 show and tell with you just to kind of dive into those lessons learned. Definitely some food for thought there as far as scaling this out, for anyone else who thinks they might have that, in with a university, to where we can kind of get that cross-institutional pathway as you described it. to begin to really have some of these badges mean something to an audience, to a greater ecosystem, right? Where K-12 badges are actually part of the admissions process. And I think one of my takeaways from you here is that having a relationship at that higher educational institution is really one of the keys, that having that partner and that internal champion who can then use their own social capital at the higher institution to open doors to the important conversations that get you to where you are, where you're sharing amazing work with us. Any other just major takeaway that you want to kind of do as an outro that you want to make sure is on people's radar, Mark?
Yeah, I would just say, I would say that one of the things I want to make sure to emphasize in relation to endorsement is that we tend to think about endorsement as a sort of one directional channel where, you know, we're creating endorsement relationships so that students can, in our case, apply to Parsons. But it's really not that. It is that at its foundation, but what we're trying to really do is provide endorsement as a relationship that actually sort of raises the potential and possibility for students no matter where they're applying. And I think that applies to all kinds of different contexts. Aurora.
Sounds like there's real access and equity kind of implications there.
Absolutely. So anywhere, you know, the same way that Eagle Scouts do, students who do amazing thing in STEM programs or at Aurora Public Schools should be able to share a credential, not just with the endorser themselves, but when they get to do that across the sector and show it to lots of different employers that hey, this was endorsed by Microsoft or a local web development shop or whatever else, it carries weight, and it helps us bridge the divide between who gets to participate in an amazing world of technological advance right now and who doesn't. So that's what we're all in it for, and I'm proud to be a part of it, and really glad to have the mic tonight just to tell you more about what Mouse is doing to get us there. I would encourage people to grab me on Twitter or by email to chat more. Thanks again, Noah, for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. He is at M.A. Lesser on the Twitter. I'm at Senior G. And he really means it when he says he wouldn't put it out there if he didn't, to reach out, let us help you. And just thank you, everybody who joined us live. And to people who watch this not live, please don't hesitate to reach out. Join our community every Monday afternoon. We'd love to hear from you, and have a badge-worthy week, everybody. Bye-bye.